Hey, what is up? This is AJ from Fire from Heaven. Welcome to another episode of Mythical Mindset. Before we get started, Mythical Mindset is a part of a network of podcasts that I've started, all branching out from my heavy metal solo project. And I do a lot of these different things for followers of my page. So I also have another show called the Metalhead Mindset you might be interested in as well. But anyways, today we're going to be talking about tearing down the fold. I recently watched a show that I think was actually first recommended to me by a fan on my Facebook band page. It's called Shadow and Bone. It's kind of pretty popular right now on Netflix. Basically I don't want to give away the whole show if you haven't seen it. It's a really good show. Go and watch it. There might be a little bit of spoilers in this podcast because I'm going to use some of the things in the show to talk about things that we can learn from this show. And that's basically what I do with the Mythical Mindset. I look at stories, fantasies, whether it's from a book or a show, or a lot of popular fantasy shows and movies are based on books, so both. And pull ideas from them that we can apply to our daily lives, and it's all focused on personal development, so taking ideas from the stories we love and how we can develop ourselves and live better lives. So basically, in this show Shadow and Bone, there's a powerful man named the Black Heretic. I thought that was actually kind of a cool name. Who creates like a massive cloud of darkness where twisted creatures dwell and devour any who dare to try and cross it. The problem with it is that it divides a country in two, and the neighboring lands are not friendly, so to speak, so those on the wrong side of the fold are cut off from the rest of the world, pretty much. So that's a little bit about the story. But where I got this idea, I'm going to use for this episode is this idea of the fold. I'm gonna use it in a different way, as well as a similar way as in the show where it like cuts off from the rest of the world, kind of. Let's see. I recently watched a show, so that's kind of what inspired this. Sorry, I'm going through my notes. Usually I kind of just harp on an idea, and I don't do a lot of notes, so I'm trying to do better with notes. And all right, so here's where we get started, because I just sometimes I'm really scatterbrained in my notes. But anyways, think of the fold as something that's just keeping you from seeing things as they are, or not seeing them in the right light. The fold that I'm trying to tear down is one about the way we view and treat ourselves. In today's world, we can get away with being mediocre, and we can get away with being lazy and live a decently comfortable life, right? There are certain uncomfortable things about it that we have to do, but we make up for it by doing anything we want after that. I'm talking about, like, a lot of us, how we just work a day job and then do whatever we want for the rest of our time, and we're not really committed to anything. We're just kind of existing, not growing ourselves, not working towards a goal, just kind of existing. And I don't want to like insult that kind of lifestyle in any way, where you're just content how you're living, and you're just living daily. Maybe it's not really, I'm not talking about a sense of content, but it's like you're trying to disengage with the world around you in extreme forms of escapism, which obviously shows like this, fantasy and books and stuff like that are a great form of escape. But when we try too hard to escape and we don't engage with the world around us, I think that's more of what I'm trying to address here. I'm not trying to insult a content daily living lifestyle where you just you're content going to work and you're content just at home having a great family life or whatever. Because, even just building a family, you're working towards stuff. Um, and I just realized I don't need my headphones on. um, anyways, I'm not trying to insult that kind of lifestyle at all. But the kind of lifestyle that's mediocre and just trying to disengage with the world around you and trying to escape and in extreme forms and obsessive forms. I think escape is great. And I love fantasy. I love books. I'm actually writing one of my own. So, not against that. But we can get away with neglecting ourselves, our mind, our spirit, our body, and live comfortably still. And yet we're the most mentally ill and depressed, anxious generation of all. So why is that? We're children of prosperity. And if children of prosperity are not taught they must be the most disciplined and responsible of all peoples before them, then they will be the opposite, the most lazy, undisciplined, and irresponsible people of all, which will set things in an endless cycle. You may have heard this quote. I believe it originated from Brett Devereaux. I hope I'm saying his name right. Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. That's an endless cycle, and that's the cycle I'm talking about. But it doesn't have to be this way, because strong men often assume because life has always fought back, there's no need to learn self-government or teach it. It's just what you do. The problem is when you no longer have an enemy to fight or something chasing you behind, you find you don't have to run so hard or so fast, and that you can actually stop completely and nothing will happen. Maybe not to you, but to the next generation it will. So we have to learn to govern ourselves in this time of prosperity and to commit to our own growth. If there is no enemy to fight, we have to make our lack of discipline our enemy in all areas of our life, and there must be discipline and growth. This is how the cycle ends. I'm not talking about one-sided growth either, where you're the size of Arnold Schwarzenegger, but can't think critically or discern anything. In the same way, not just a big brain, but someone who takes care of their body as well. You don't have to be massive in order to do that, by the way. Sorry, it could sound like I'm just reading straight from my notes. I'm just trying to learn how to, do this better. I'd even argue that massive people aren't very functional and can't even touch their shoulders. So that's kind of away from the point, but it's just, a point I'm trying to make is that if we're too focused on one thing, we can become very one-sided and neglect all other areas of our life. It's like, for example, I'm probably going to sound like an old man using this analogy because I'm working on a garden right now, but it's like if I focus on everything else, or not, if I focus on one thing, it'll be great to have that, but it's not going to make really much of a difference. I might harvest a lot of potatoes, for example, or a lot of carrots or onions. Onions is probably the thing I'm focusing on most right now, but I'm also doing other things. But if I focused only on that, that's all I would get. See what I'm saying? So if I focused only on the one plant, cultivating that and helping that grow, all others are probably going to die. If I'm only watering the onions, there might be a little bit of watering that comes from rain or something, but what if we get a bit of a dry season or dry spell for a while? They're going to get, and it gets really hot here in the summer, so they probably get roasted without plentiful water every day, So you neglect something like that, it's that's what's going to happen. It's going to die. Not necessarily in this sense, but you could always save it It's a little bit more difficult to save dead plants, but you get the point. So this is the fold that we can get away with living life lazily, and there won't be any consequences. That's the fold here that we're trying to tear down. There will be, whether in your lifetime or not, and if you're so worried about taking care of the planet to leave a better world for our children, what good is it if it's ruled by tyrants? You get what I mean? What good is it if it's ruled by people who are obsessively one-sided and tyrannical? What good is taking care of the world if it's ruled by tyrants or idiots? So take care of yourself, your mind, your body, and your spirit. Read, grow, work, find joy and fulfillment in the small daily things. This is how we end the cycle. We have to become self-governing. So tear down that fold. Don't view life as something you can just do passively. Engage with life. I'm not saying escape is bad. Escape is helpful to me, And like I say, even in the escapes that I seek with the stories and stuff like this, the shows, because I'm doing things like this, I'm always trying to pull ideas and truths from them that we can use for personal development. So, become obsessed with personal development. Develop yourselves. Grow. And that's all I have to say for this episode. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to know more about me, like I said, I'm a heavy metal solo artist. My project is called Fire from Heaven. I do a lot of different podcasts and stuff that kind of stem from that, and creating content and culture around my brand. So you can find all of my content on my Facebook page, Fire from Heaven. You can also check out my website, metalfirefromheaven.com, where I have a page on there with all the podcasts I do. I think it's all on there. I haven't updated it in a while, but check that out. And if you'd like to become involved in the Fellowship of Fire from Heaven, that's my fan club. You can check that out on Patreon, patreon.com/Fellowship of Fire from Heaven. And I'm going to end there. Thanks for joining me. Stay metal.